to episode 83 of the S&D Podcast Show. What's going on, Dan?
Not much. Same old, same old. Wish New York Giants are playing a little bit better. But football is still around, so, hey, as long as there's football, I can't complain.
Week 3 is upon us.
Yes.
Starting this week, we will bring in our good friend, Keith Black from NumbersFire.com.
Absolutely.
Talk fantasy football with him and around the league a little bit.
Yeah, we need that, especially with the injury bug coming week 2. There's tons of injuries. I know why one team got decimated, even though I'm 2-0 in that league. So definitely a little concerned this week. I might finally get my first L this week if all things go to plan. Hopefully not. But yeah, we're gonna have Keith on. Maybe talk a little bit about the Raiders and the Texans, since the Giants are playing the Texans this week. The Raiders had an ass-kicking last week against the Texans. The Texans just demolished them, like everybody knows. So maybe we'll see what Keith thought of the Houston Texans, who are 2-0. So
Mainly because of J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt.
Is he going to get a punt return touchdown against us this week?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's the only thing. He doesn't have a special teams touchdown.
Yeah, he's just missing that. J.J. Watt. Anyway.
I could see it.
The Jets had another Jet loss, and that's just excruciating. Especially Morningwig can't call timeouts, and the Jets had their one miracle play go against them, and that sucks.
Yeah, they blew it on their own.
Yeah, they did.
So, anywho, let's go play a little more new Division 1.1, SWD/Angelica.
Okay.
We're going to play a little bit more of that, and we'll be right back to talk about the Jets and Giants.
Welcome back to the S&D Podcast. You just listened to Division 1.1's new song, SWD Angelica. Pretty rad, right? Don't you think?
Can't complain.
Yeah, pretty good. Good job, boys. We're going to start this week's show before we have Keith on. We're going to talk Jets and Giants football. We're going to start off with the Jets because, let's face it, the Jets played better on Sunday. Unfortunately, they had a heartbreaking loss against the Packers at Lambeau Field. Had a 21-0 lead, the 21-point lead, and they blew it. Gino played pretty well. He established what I've been trying to say the last couple of weeks. So you got to give Gino credit. Just the blunder towards the end of the game, they just couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson. Jordy had 209 yards receiving. And that very long touchdown run to take the lead. So the Jets looked good until the Packers finally turned it on, essentially. And also,
it was just a matter of time till the Packers turned it on.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, the Jets had their one miracle play, and Coach Morningwig, who can't call timeouts, decided to call a timeout. I guess he saw something that he didn't like, but yeah, the Jets would have scored on an amazing pass from Geno Smith to Jeremy Curley to tie the game. So that was definitely a big backbreaker. The Jets did get a first down the next play, and they've stalled out on four downs for it to tie the game. Once again, the defense shut down the run. Eddie Lacy only had 43 yards. I'm sure Eddie Lacy's must be happy he'll be facing easier defenses the next couple of weeks. I know one more week they play the Lions this week, but man, that's a tough start.
For a running back, yes.
For a running back to play the Seahawks, Jets, and then now the Lions this week. So definitely got to tip your hat. Whoever has them in fantasy has to remain patient. But we'll talk about that with Keith. The Jets played Monday night against the Bears, right?
At home against the Bears, and then next Sunday at home against the Lions.
Okay, so they have back-to-back home games. So they just got to get home cooking. The Bears, they were very impressive. Both wide receivers are hurt last week, as everybody knows. In the fantasy world, either it screwed you or you had enough time to change it, like I did for one league with Brandon Marshall. They're both still probably hurt, but I'm sure they had that, since they had that extra day to get healed, maybe that might help them both. With their defensive front, if they can get to Jay Cutler, if Jay Cutler hears footsteps, it could be a good night for the Jets.
That's only if he hears footsteps.
Only if they hear footsteps. So they got to get to Jay Cutler quick and as often as possible. Their defense is not that banked. It's not as good as what everybody thinks is. It's not our Chicago Bears from 10 years ago. even 5 years ago. Unfortunately, they lost Charles Tillman to injury the other day, so he was placed on IR as well. So it's not the Bears from a few years back. They do have Jared Allen, but one guy who doesn't make the whole entire team, Lance Briggs as well, but they're both getting up there in age. So the Jets offense needs to take advantage of the Bears defense because they're clearly the weak point of this year's team. So what do you think? What do you expect out of this Monday night matchup between the two?
Well, I expect it all comes down to Jay Cutler, like usual with the Bears.
Of course. He is so Jekyll and Hyde. He is top 3 most Jekyll to Hyde quarterbacks in the league.
He can make or break the game any week.
Oh yeah, it's him, Tony, and Eli. Those are the 3 most Jekyll and Hyde quarterbacks in the league because you'll never know which quarterback you get week to week.
Right, 100%. He can go out there and deliver,
and
then he could go out there and throw 6 picks.
Yeah, so the Jets played good in Green Bay. You got to give them credit for that. Unfortunately, you can't give gold stars to losses.
Right.
Especially blowing a 21-point lead, which you can't do anytime because you can't take
16 in the fourth quarter too.
They opened it up. I literally just got home from the Giant game and watched Jordy score on that. So yeah, the Jets they played fine. Like I said, Geno is much better from what he was last year.
100% better. He looks better. He looks calmer. He looks like he knows what he's doing.
And he looks efficient. I just rewatched the highlights because I didn't get to see his interception. The interception was toss-up and him getting lit up.
Right.
And it was a sputter. If he was able to stay upright, I'm sure that pass would have been more crisper, obviously. And it was apparently tipped. So, hey, it's like we say about Eli. It's sometimes you just get bad luck interceptions, and that just happened to be one of them. So you got to tip your hat to Geno, and I definitely give, if you have to say player of the game out of the Jets, it's obviously Geno. Decker left the game early with a hamstring injury. It's going to be interesting to see if he comes back. I didn't see the reports today, so I'm not sure if he practiced or not today. I'm sure they gave him a couple of days off. For him to rest up for Monday night against the Bears because their secondary is so banged up.
Yeah, I can see that. It's going to be interesting to see which Jets show up.
Yeah,
and which Bears show up.
Exactly. It could go either way on Monday night because both teams are so not predictable. I'm actually on Bleacher Report right now, so Becker's hamstring was not teared, so that's great news, and does not need an MRI, so that's good news for the Jets right there. And he should be returning. So Decker, according to Kimley Martin, is Decker's hammy Decker says there's no tear and he does not need to go for an MRI. Here's another one. Oh, okay, he did practice today, and D. Milner also was sidelined. Oh no, they didn't practice today. I'm sorry. Decker and D. Milner sidelined at Jet practice today. Okay, so neither of them practice.
Well, the hamstring, you understand. You lose that, it's going to be big.
So essentially, it's the same hamstring from camp that he missed a few days with. So he's definitely going to be a game-time decision. So it's really going to be interesting to see what will happen. Do the Jets take a chance not playing him, or does he suck it up and play? So he's huge. He really is huge. If he doesn't play, the Jets revert to what they were last year, and maybe they get the running game going. Let's see, what was the stats? I'm sorry.
I don't think they looked well on the running game.
No, the running game was pretty bad.
I know Ivory was on my bench, but
Ivory led the team in rushing again. But what was the players?
Ivory led the whole game in rushing.
Yeah, he did. Actually, Ivory got 43 yards rushing.
37 attempts, 146 as a team.
Yeah.
That's not terrible.
Chris Johnson only got 21 yards. Curley second in the team with 33 yards rushing. But it says he has no carries. That's weird. Anyway. Game Center on NFL Mobile has Jeremy Curley, 0 carries but 37 yards, average 0.1. I guess that they don't count end arounds, I'm assuming. All right, whatever. That's weird.
It is what it is.
Yeah, but Chris Johnson with a whopping 1.75 average net yardage on Sunday. That's not going to get it done. We all know that. But as long as Ivory's pounding the ball and 13 is much more efficient with 13 carries for 43 yards, I would say, and he did score one of the touchdowns. So good for him. Let's see. He has a 2-week streak going on right there. So let's see how much longer he can keep it up. Oh, Powell didn't get any. Powell got 4 carries for 16 yards, and he got a couple of receptions. So he seems to be the change of pace back when Chris Johnson needs to blow.
Yeah, basically. And they also rely on Geno a little bit, of course, to be smarter this year with his legs.
Yeah, he did score on the rollout, the first play after the fumble for Aaron Rodgers. So, hey, you got to give him the Jets credit, like they said with the Bears. It's going to be interesting which Bears team is. If Jeffrey and Marshall are both healthy and Cutler is in his A game, they're a very tough team to beat. So the Jets front has to be ready to go that day and attack. Well, we'll save the picks for later, for our later segment for our week picks. But let's move to the other New York team. We were both at that bloodbath on Sunday.
And if you haven't seen us yet, you should see our tents.
Yeah, finally peeling. We forgot to put sunscreen on for the tailgate.
It wasn't the tailgate; it was the actual game for me.
Oh, for you, but not for me. I was in the shade the whole game. Yeah,
I miss old Giants Stadium.
Yeah, I miss old Giants Stadium too. But no excuses. They lost 25-14. You can't blame the offense. Well, you can blame the offense on certain players, but you can't blame this game on Eli. Like I mentioned on Facebook and Twitter, the Giants had this game pretty much for 50-something minutes, and the third down to Victor Cruz was deemed the turning point of the game. Drops the pass, Steve Weatherford goes back, punts the ball to Ted Ginn Jr. Never a good idea, first of all, but I'm not blaming it on Weatherford because the coverage did get there. Bounced off with one tackle. Where the hell was the rest of the defense? I mean, what rest of the coverage team? And then,
waiting for Ginn to get on the sideline so they can go on the sideline.
That's strike 2, and then the next possible play for the Giants to get the ball, Demps fumbles right there. So 3 plays in a matter of a minute, under a minute per se, for them to screw up and them score 10.
You know what I find interesting with the new kickoffs?
We're the only ones returning kicks. But
and you know what's the best part is? Like, if he gets to 10, everyone starts getting like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
and then he averaged about the 22.
Yeah,
I think he landed at.
Well, he had a couple of good ones, but yeah,
they all landed at the 22.
Yeah, it was frustrating to say the very least. We played all right. Eli scored 2 for 2 touchdowns this week, so got to give him credit on that one.
We showed signs of what we can be.
Yes. If one of our receivers caught the ball 5 drops, technically 5 drops, Victor Cruz had 3 of them, and they all came at the same exact time. But that's nothing new with Victor, because with Victor, it really comes down to him wanting to do more than what he really does, just like how we said the same thing about Eli the other day. Victor always looks to get yacked before he actually holds on to the ball, and that's why he drops all the passes.
He's scared. Eli got him hit a couple of years. Was it 2 years ago or last year?
Last year when he got hurt. Yeah, both times. Eli does hang him out to dry a lot sometimes. But it's not just that. It's him running. It's that, and he also wants to run after the catch. And you can tell when he does that because he'll drop the ball. You just need Victor to be more concentrate. He has to concentrate on making sure he gets the passes much more than the yak. I know the yak is great and that's part of his game, but we need to make sure he catches the ball because regardless, we're going to get a first down 9 out of 10 times because of the routes and stuff. Bad news. A lot of injuries.
I know you're very sad about the Jarrell Jernigan.
No, I honestly, out of the Ruben Randall, Jarrell Jernigan doghouse fan club I made, it sucks that Jarrell Jernigan, he's all right. It sucks. I never want anybody to get hurt. Obviously we needed him because he's better than Preston Parker and Corey Washington at the moment. He's more established. So that sucks. So Julian Talley, Preston Parker, and Corey Washington, all 3 have to step up until Odell Beckham comes back to the field, which we're hoping next week. We're hoping not.
He didn't practice.
He hasn't practiced yet. What next week I mean by actually practicing because it's a short week. So.
Well, If anything, at this point, you won't see him till Atlanta.
Yeah, that's
Because
what
you're
I'm
not going to
booking.
bring him in on Monday,
No.
say, go work out, you're playing Thursday.
Yeah,
unless he
exactly.
works this week.
Yeah.
Unless he's basically becoming questionable for Sunday,
Yeah.
then you won't see him next Thursday. If he's questionable going into Sunday, there's a possibility you see him Thursday. If he ends up becoming questionable this week and plays Sunday, you definitely won't see him Thursday.
And that's only
next
going to
week.
be punt returns, so don't expect him much.
You won't see him play next Thursday because you won't have him off a hamstring injury play a short week.
Of course, exactly. So, and Beeson, we don't know what's going on with Beeson. He should be in Carolina right now.
By the way, eerie fact: 0-2 in 2007, 0-2 2014.
0-2 in 2000. Yes.
Oh no, my eerie fact is both times we were 0-2. Point differential was 32.
Yeah, we we need to get turnovers.
We're one of I don't know. Wait, did the
Three.
Colts have a turnover?
I think they might have.
I think it was 5 going into the Monday night game.
Yeah.
5 teams didn't have a turnover yet going into the Monday night game. And then the Colts.
Yeah. We we're -6 right now in takeaways right now, and that doesn't help win the games we mentioned. Before we get to that, also John Beeson's day-to-day, this toe injury apparently reoccurring, and that's never a good thing because he's pretty much, other than Antro Roll, our heart and soul of the defense. Our defense looked good until third downs. I don't get it. It's always been our biggest problem, stopping on third down, especially against Drew Stanton, who hasn't played in 2.5 years in real football.
And I'll tell you what, if you're going to take a positive out of the
Our
game,
running game again.
not the running game.
Oh,
Rapaza?
DRC played well.
No, our pass rush.
Yes, we had 4 sacks the other day.
Jason Pierre-Paul looked like the old Jason Pierre-Paul.
He's been stopping the run too, which has been great. And honestly, it really sucks is that one pass interference, the roughing the passer because he didn't hear the whistle. Who laid it? Who got the hit on that? Was it McLean?
Yeah, and he laid him out,
Yeah.
which was bad, but wasn't it? Well, you know what? You play the whistle, and
Yeah.
you couldn't hear anything.
No.
It was a loud crowd on that going into that play,
Yeah, that was the
and I
loudest
didn't hear a
part.
whistle.
Yeah, well, obviously no one of us did.
So you can't.
And it was
really-
towards your side of the field too, so
no. It was,
No,
that
no,
was
no.
further down.
it was a little bit further down. But
It was around the. It was middle of the field.
But compared to me,
they were in field goal range going into that play.
No,
They were
close-
just
they were-
out of. Yes.
They were just out of it, but yeah, that's right. And then that was the one thing I had to say, and this is a general NFL statement. It isn't pro Giants or negative Giants on this. The refs gotta let players play. It's really ridiculous. Both sides of the ball complaining about flags, throwing flags. They have to play. They have to let them play because it's honestly getting so watered down. And like Sunday night, every other play was a penalty. Sunday afternoon when we were watching the game, was every other play was a penalty, and that helps bail out teams for playing mediocre. And it's unexcusable sometimes, and they just really need to get players playing. It was, for example, the Ruben Randall play that he was looking for a penalty. It was right in front of my face. He goes in a slant. He completely stops running and then blames it on the other guy trying to get a flag. If he ran through his route, he would have gotten at least closest to at least a 5, or maybe he breaks a tackle and scores a touchdown. And that's just what's frustrating me with certain players on this team. They try to get the cop out with the penalty instead of running through the play. And that needs to stop for us to win a couple of games. And that was my biggest gripe on one of the biggest gripes I had on Sunday was the penalties and players not running through plays. So with that being said, Larry Donnell of the team receptions.
I'll tell you what. Our biggest question was the tight end. And despite one or two plays, I've actually liked our tight ends.
Yeah, Larry Donnell played pretty well, and Fells scored a touchdown. So. Hey, they played good. It was our receivers not catching the ball, not getting off the field on third down, and that one punt coverage. Jennings played well too. Unfortunately, he slipped and fell and lost the ball on that. But he overall played pretty solid well. I was just waiting for him to break one. He almost broke a couple of them, but he got tackled right before he broke it. So I thought he played solid. He's better than the running.
We're missing Wilson.
Yeah, we are.
You see, we're missing a guy like Wilson, and
Yeah,
that's
we
why
are.
I've been saying to you,
Michael James.
LaMichael James. But you haven't heard LaMichael James since he got cut, since he asked to be cut.
Something's
So
up.
something's kind of up there. Maybe there's something going on mentally. Maybe he wanted out of football. So
Something's up.
So something's up. If he doesn't, and there's nothing going on, maybe he's just trying to gather himself, see if he wants to keep playing, seeing his options. I would love to at least bring him in for a tryout.
Hey, that would be good. We missed that. We especially with Williams, who's solid. Jennings is also solid. Our running game is 100 times better than what it was last year at around this point, because Wilson at this point has 2 more weeks before he gets hurt. So right around this time is when we are last year when we hit the downfall with our running game. So I actually like Jennings. I know Steve knows, and Steve likes him as well. He's definitely better than Andre Brown. So I'll take him any day.
Oh, yeah. Unless you give me 2 years ago, Andre Brown.
Yeah.
When they just pulled him off the street for the 100th time.
Yeah.
Against Carolina.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Jennings is going to break out one of these days. This week, the Giants are back home Monday, 1 o'clock start on Sunday. It's the Houston Texans that are 2-0 with Bill O'Brien and Ryan Fitzpatrick and J.J. Watt. And Arian Foster, don't forget him. He's finally having
what's interesting about them is that I honestly believed that going into this game, Ryan Mallett was going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, that ain't happening anytime soon.
And it's not even that. So I think we said before that JJ's doing punt returns this week.
Yeah, punt returns for J.J. Watt. Nah, just kidding. He is doing everything for them, though.
He does go out there and try and block punts. And
well, of course,
kickoffs.
He's 6'7".
Okay, so there's going to be I could see it. Hopefully it's not hitting Weatherford, though, because can't get hit again.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs a special teams touchdown, and he has the hat trick of touchdowns this year.
Hopefully that doesn't happen this week.
Let it go next week.
Yeah.
They can easily be the best team in their division.
They can. The Colts are still a little bit overrated, but with Andrew
Luck... They have
Luck...
no defense.
Yeah, with Andrew Luck, they could definitely make it happen, though. Easily.
Yeah, they have a good offense, I agree with you, but I just don't see...
I'm not saying they're great offense just yet, because I don't want to... Because Ryan Fitzpatrick couldn't be had, and they're just finding ways to have Ryan Fitzpatrick be Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of thing. So with that being said, I don't want to sell him short yet. You get what I mean?
Right.
He could easily be had.
Oh, yeah, easily. And the problem is, this week, who's going to be our deep safety? Stevie Brown's got to play 50 yards down the field because Antrell's going to be helping RDC with Andre Johnson, who can go anywhere.
Yeah, that's better.
And then
Hopkins
is that deep threat.
But I think Prince and DRC will be fine with him. I think they'll be fine.
I think Prince has definitely been, in the last year and 3 games, most improved.
Oh, 100%, and I've been saying that.
Right, you have. I know.
And honestly, I think we're fine as for that matchup. It really comes down to Will Beatty and Justin Pugh versus J.J. Watt. And Joseph on the secondary, and Brian Cushing. And who's there on the linebacker?
They're scary.
They're a good defensive team. So Eli's going to have his work cut out for him. It really comes down to our wide receivers and everybody staying healthy. And they can't beat themselves. I'm going to be loud Sunday. Steve's going to be loud Sunday. I hope the rest of MetLife Stadium is going to be loud and not leave it when there's an 8-point game in the balance right there. That did tick me off with some fans that think they're privileged. But that's another point to another day. So let's go Giants. Let's go Jets. They need to both bring home a victory, more so for the Giants because they can't go through 0-3 again. And the Jets don't want to go under 500.
So the Jets also have that stretch of hell coming up.
Yes, they do have a stretch of hell coming up, and they're halfway through there.
I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's Bears Monday night at home, Lions Sunday at home, at San Diego, home against Denver, at New England on Thursday.
Yes, their gauntlet of hell is coming real soon, and if they don't win this week or next week, it's going to be very scary, especially now that the Chargers beat the defending champs at home.
You know what? If the Jets come out of the next 5 games
2-3,
make it 3-4,
yeah,
going into the rest of the season, they have a very reasonable schedule the rest of the way.
They're having the Giants hell November early.
Right. You get the Bills twice, the Dolphins twice. Ideally, the hardest game is at the Chiefs the rest of the season.
And they're not the same team like last year.
Right. But they also go to... They have... After the Patriot game on October 16th, they have 1, 2, 3... They have 5 road games. At the Chiefs, at the Bills, at the Dolphins, at Tennessee, and at Minnesota.
Okay. See,
Minnesota's outdoors now. It's not like you're going to a dome.
As long as everybody stays healthy for the Jets, they can make a run for it this year for a wild card. Maybe a division. You never know. But if the Jets stay healthy and just get over that hump of that awful October, they can make a run for the playoffs. They can easily get to 9 or 10 wins if they survive.
I agree.
So, with that all being said, the Jets and Giants got to take it 1 week at a time. Obviously, Giant fans, myself and Steve included, are getting a little frustrated with the performance of the teams. Just got to be more patient with McAdoo's offense. I finally saw wrinkles of the offense that we haven't seen throughout the preseason, and obviously we didn't see against the Lions. So that being said, good job on that. They just got to play a complete game, which terrible teams were not able to do. I'm sorry for not spitting that out, but at the end of the day, they got to play the game, and they got to find a way to pull it out. No excuses, and they need to get a win, like Andrew Hall says, at no cost. So they got to find a way to pull it out, and I think they will. But then again, we did lose to Drew Stanton last week.
Right. But you know what? You knew that was you kind of had that feeling.
Yeah, it was one of the.
We didn't prepare all week for him.
Yeah,
he just came out and just marched right down that field.
Yeah, no one really popped out. Ellington played pretty well.
Well, they won't have Dwyer this week, so.
Yeah, stupid. Do players just?
One girlfriend came out saying it happened. Now they're all going to come out and say it happened.
What a Pandora's box with this one. So
you know what? I'm happy I'm not. Who I'm happy I'm not? Roger Goodell.
Yeah, definitely. With that being said, we're going to bring on our good friend Keith when we come back. Listen to more Division 1.1, and we will be right back.
SNDPODCAST is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Football League or any of its affiliates.
Welcome back to episode 83 of the S&D Podcast Show. Dan, we're now going to welcome in from NumbersFire.com, Keith Black. Welcome back to the show, Keith.
Hey, Keith.
Thanks.
How's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Great.
Always. We're going to talk some fantasy football with Keith, basically, around the league, a little bit with him, get his take. So, right now, I know it's only 2 weeks in, but who's the biggest surprise fantasy football-wise?
The biggest surprise, I think, not to talk on Adrian Peterson's situation, but to see basically Peterson, Charles, and McCoy all basically be pretty irrelevant the first few weeks is, that's pretty wild to me. If you had one of the first 3 picks, I think you're scrambling. I mean, McCoy had 2 good games, but Charles is out. Charles looks like he's gone for a while. Peterson is done indefinitely. And, usually you feel pretty good about getting one of those 2 guys. McCoy's been all right, but he might have lost a few points this week to Darren Sproles. So, that's pretty surprising to me. I don't know about you guys. I happen not to own any of them in any of my leagues, but
I have McCoy.
Yeah, so he's been fine comparatively, but no 20-point games yet, and I think people were expecting one of these 30-point outings.
That will come soon, though.
Oh, I'm sure it will. That offense is just built for guys to score 30 fantasy points. I mean, he's going to get a lot of opportunity to score. But yeah, I mean, it's really a disaster if you wound up with not McCoy in the top 3. You're really in trouble right now. So and that's pretty surprising, I think, to basically anybody.
Well, I actually had in one of my leagues, I think it was the 3rd pick I had in Tommy's league.
Oh yeah.
But I was hoping that it wouldn't have been. I was hoping either Peterson or Charles wouldn't have fallen.
Right.
Those are the two guys that actually scared me going into the season because new offense with Peterson, he's getting older. McCoy was the only one of the three I really trusted.
Okay. That makes sense.
So
yeah,
that was my mindset with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, when you're picking, I guess, like first overall, the reason that Peterson is so good every year is not necessarily because he's the best player, but you can always count on him to be not a bust. And this year it sort of looks like that is probably going to happen. He's probably going to be a bust. He didn't play last week. He is not going to play this week. And who knows when he's going to be back. And that's, that's not on the field stuff. That's off the field stuff. But, yeah, it's rough sledding right now. I advocated preseason picking Calvin Johnson number 1. So I feel a little bit vindicated after his week 1 huge week and then another good week in week 2.
Well, another thing I heard with Peterson was that with the new offense that they brought in, they were actually going to be throwing the ball a little bit more to the running back.
Yeah.
So they estimated him at like 60 catches this year.
Yeah, he's never been a guy that catches a ton of balls. He's always a factor in the offense, but you'd have to figure that he would have to adjust a little bit to the new offense. I think people sort of expected Patterson to sort of pick up a little bit of the slack on that end. And you saw in week 1, he had a few runs and a few big plays, but nothing really in week 2 for him. And they were really bad in week 2, and whether that's off the field distractions or sort of played their role. But yeah, it's really I like to go with the RB0 strategy. This new strategy that it's not new, but it's newly named that came out on Twitter. A lot of people were talking about just going wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, and then just figuring it out. And it looks like a pretty decent strategy right now, especially with the way the running backs have sort of shaken out.
Alrighty, so let's say you did draft Peterson, exemplars. You own him, Keith. What are you doing? Is he a guy you're gonna just drop, or do you hold on to him to wait?
I say wait.
I couldn't drop him. I couldn't bring myself to do that just because if he does play, he's a huge factor. I try and see if a guy like Niall Davis is still out there, and it looks like he's been added in about 3/4 of ESPN leagues. Asiata, who is the backup there, I just wrote about Bernard Pierce, who looks like he'll have the opportunity. I don't think he's very good, but he'll at least have the opportunity to play. And then, you just try and figure it out, and unfortunately you have to use a bench spot. But if somebody's willing to pay you a decent return for Peterson, I might consider trading him, but I definitely wouldn't drop him. There's nobody on the wire right now that I would drop him for.
Would you pick up Jonathan Stewart?
This week's matchup I think is pretty good for him. It looks like D'Angelo Williams probably is going to play. I'm thinking, yeah, it looks like he's going to play, and Pittsburgh has sort of not been very good against the run so far. You're talking, nearly over 300 yards in the last 2 games that they've given up on the ground to not necessarily the best teams. So, I would consider picking him up. I think Williams is going to play. They're not 100% sure on that, but if he doesn't play, Jonathan Stewart's going to have the opportunity. And we sort of play this game, I think, every year with the Carolina running backs ever since Cam's shown up.
Even before him.
Even before Cam showed up, you were talking about is Williams going to be good? Is Stewart going to be good? And they would both have games during the course of the 16 weeks where they would be worth starting, but there was just no telling when they would come.
It would always be the week that you decide to bench him.
It always works that way.
Yeah, every year I remember having Stewart and D'Angelo, and I would be like, all right, I'm going to go with him this week. and then D'Angelo would go off, and you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
So after the third time that happened to me, I turned that off. But
yeah,
I'm one of the few. I'm sure there's a bunch of people. I was one of them that took a risk on Ray Rice. I took a risk on him at quite a few leagues around the fifth or sixth round, and I'm definitely paying the price now, especially in one league. I actually had MJD as well being hurt, so I pretty much got the injury bug on one team. I also had Ingram, and I also had No-Sean. So right now, I'm pretty bleak right now in the running game department for my flex spot. So thank God I have good enough wide receivers to hopefully to help me survive. But it's really going to be tough sledding here on out if one more running back gets hurt. So I'm pretty much banking on my guys. Thank God I do like Le'Veon Bell and who was my other running back? I'm sorry. Le'Veon Bell and what's his face? Hold on. Adding music to the podcast right now so we don't have dead air. Hold on, turn down for what? Yeah, I like that team. Matt Forte. He's also been quiet lately. So do you think I should remain patient with Forte, right?
Yeah, I would think so. You drafted him. You would have to get him, top 6, I would say at the latest, right?
Yeah,
so
4th, yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to say 4th, but you never know if he would slip. He was ranked 4th coming into the year, and I mean they're going to pass the ball. And you see what happened when with Brandon Marshall last week, 3 touchdowns. I think you just sort of have to be a little bit patient, and it's only 2 weeks in, and he's going to have the opportunity. I don't think anybody's there really waiting to take his job, so
no,
I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I could see if some owners are probably a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I'm not nervous yet, but I'm going to start getting a little impatient, to be honest with you. But I picked up Niles Davis in this league, so that actually helps me out, especially with me losing No-Sean and Ingram this week. And Ingram was playing really well. He was finally looking like the Heisman Trophy winner that we all hoped and prayed that he was going to be a few years back. So that's definitely 100% a tough break for him.
Yeah.
Any other big surprises before? Well, it would be him. One of them would be him before he got hurt. Any big surprises and people were shocked to see the outcome the first 2 weeks?
I think that everyone is sort of I saw a little bit of panic about Demaryius Thomas. I think people were expecting him to be a real game breaker, and he did have a touchdown in his last game. But you're talking 9 receptions. He hasn't had over 65 yards in either game. But and I think people are a little bit overreacting to the fact that Calvin Johnson has had 2 big games, and Des Bryant had a good game last week. He wasn't so great the week before, and you sort of drafted Demaryius in that range, and you're saying, hey, what about my 20-point games? Where's my 100 yards, 10 receptions, and a touchdown? And Demaryius hasn't had that yet, and I think you kind of expected that from him coming in. But again, I mean, Peyton Manning offense, he's going to have plenty of chances. Some weeks it'll be Julius Thomas, some weeks it'll be Emmanuel Sanders with Welker coming back, some weeks it'll be Welker, and the opportunities will be there, but I think people have gotten a little bit nervous about that, and I guess I can understand that, especially in light of what the other 2 wide receivers in his range have done.
No, absolutely. But we all know with Peyton Manning, it's just a matter of that one time, especially on how much they've been together the last 2 years. So those people need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, people, it's, you get all this build-up, you do all this research, and then, you do months and months of research, weeks and weeks of reading, and then you give it all up in 2 weeks. It's a little bit panicky, and I've seen people get a little bit antsy, and I think as an owner, you kind of have to stay a little bit patient and maybe take advantage of people who are sort of saying, "Oh, I'm bailing on Demaryius. I'm selling him low. I'm getting out."
I wish those people were in my league because I would take them.
Listen, they're in none of the leagues I play in, but I guarantee you there's somebody out there who plays in a league with somebody who's saying, with a Demaryius owner who's saying, I want out. You know?
Man, I wish they were in our league, right, Steve?
I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind that either. But
one guy I should mention is Brian Quick. We had this Brian Quick. If you're playing in PPR leagues, I think he's not right now the number 14 PPR wide receiver, and he might have gone undrafted in your league. He right now, a lot of waivers haven't processed, but he's on in 13% of ESPN fantasy leagues. I mean, you're talking 12.5 points in week 1, 10.5 points in week 2, and half PPR. Hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but 7 receptions in each game.
Who is this?
Brian Quick.
Brian Quick? All right.
Yeah, so he's a guy I think that people might be interested in adding. I think that he's going to get a lot of opportunity there, and he's just one of these guys that we had a lot of hopes for him last year, and he got hurt, and the quarterback situation isn't great, but I think that he's a good player who's going to get a lot of opportunity. He's one guy that's really sort of been brought back to life a little bit here.
Okay. With that being said, let's see.
What's your biggest surprise quarterback-wise so far?
Quarterback-wise, I tell you, I go late round quarterback in a lot of leagues. It's what I like, and I really like what I've seen out of Andy Dalton. I was the last guy to pick a quarterback in one league, and I wound up with Andy Dalton, and 18 points in week 1, 14 points in week 2. And he did week 2. He played basically most of the game without AJ Green, without his biggest threat. So I mean, you're talking about a guy who's like around. He's 75% owned, and right now he's like top 10-ish in points scored. And when you're playing in a one quarterback league with 12 teams, if you have the 10th best quarterback, you're doing fine. So I think Andy Dalton might be worth a look for some people who are sort of, if you had Tony Romo as your starting, if you had Robert Griffin III as your starting quarterback, Andy Dalton's a guy worth looking at.
How about, okay, I have Andy Dalton on my bench for my league with Tom Brady. Should I look for the option of playing Dalton over Tom? Maybe not this week, but coming up weeks. Because that killed me the last 2 weeks. I should have played Dalton. But I was being stubborn because I got Brady first the last couple of the first this year's draft.
For sure, and I think in a vacuum, if you're saying I'm benching Tom Brady to start Andy Dalton, people look at you like you're crazy. But I mean, I think Brady had 9 points. I think each of the last 2 weeks. So you're talking about he doubled them up in week 1. The Patriots are going to have one of these 41-10 kind of games in them. It's going to happen. It might happen this week. But
against Oakland, no offense.
Yeah, no, I mean Oakland's defense has been abysmal, so wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, I think that it's worth looking at the matchup. I think right now Andy Dalton has, if AJ Green's on the field, Andy Dalton has better wide receivers than Tom Brady. Gronkowski has not been Gronk yet. And that might change, but I think that I think that it's definitely worth looking at, and I think there are a lot of people who are disappointed with their quarterback right now. People who lost, like I said, Robert Griffin. People who did draft Tom Brady. People who did draft Tony Romo, and why not Andy Dalton? And he gets mocked a lot, but it is what it is. Doesn't matter to me what his real life salary is and how ridiculous some people think it is, but he puts up fantasy points, and that's what I care about.
Absolutely. All right. Speaking of the Bengals, I have AJ Green in one league, and it's a standard league. Do you expect AJ Green playing this week? If your humble opinion, do you think he's worth? Obviously, he's worth the play if he's going to play. Obviously, because he's one of the elite wide receivers in the game. Well, looking around the reports this week, what do you expect AJ Green's going to do this week?
Turf toe is a really tough injury, so I don't want to say that he's going to play. He did sit out. We were taping this on Wednesday, so he did sit out of practice today. Mm-hmm. It's really tough. The good thing about it is that wide receiver is a position where you should have a little bit of depth on your bench, and you can sort of fill in a pinch. Obviously, you're hoping he plays. ESPN is projecting that he won't.
Yeah, he's projecting that he won't.
So I would not expect him to play. Turf toe is just really tough, and it sounds like a not tough injury, but turf toe is really tough. And if you're an AJ Green owner, at least you can feel a little bit confident in that. A lot of people lost a lot of guys in week 2, so you're not the only one dealing with injuries. So, but yeah, I wouldn't expect him to play this week. If he does play, I expect him to be healthy. That's sort of my attitude going into any game. If a guy's on the field, I expect that he will perform as if he is healthy. Maybe that's the wrong. I just don't like to get crazy about like, oh, he has this lingering injury and he won't be as good. If he's on the field, I expect it to be AJ Green. I don't expect half AJ Green.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right. So, with how many leagues are you in this year?
5.
5. Okay. Same with
which
me.
Is I reduced. I knocked out a couple this year just to I'm only on ESPN.com and that's my site of choice for this kind of stuff, and just mostly leagues I've been playing in for a long time is what I'm in.
Okay, that's cool. Do you normally play standard or PPR leagues?
Personally, I think PPR, half PPR is the best. That's the best format that I've found. I think full PPR is a little bit, it makes the wide receivers a little bit overpowered, in my opinion. Half PPR sort of balances it out. So that's what I like to play. But a lot of people are going toward 2 quarterback. A lot of people are going toward 3 wide receiver. So I play 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, and defense and kicker.
Okay. That actually reminds me. One of my leagues, it's a 8-team league. So what we do is just beef up the rosters so we would be like a 12-team league, 10-team league. So this week, one of my backups was RG3, so I was able to pick up Kirk Cousins this week. He's projected to score 15 points in this particular league. I have Ben Roethlisberger and Kaepernick as well. Should I go with the risk play with Kirk Cousins this week, especially against the Philadelphia defense? What do you think about Kirk Cousins? Because a lot of people are saying with Jay Gruden's offense that he obviously fits better with the scheme and everything like that, like an Andy Dalton style player. Like, what do you think? Do you think Cousins in a 2 QB league is a must play this week?
I think. It depends on your other options, and I think I would probably play them over.
My 2 options is, which since it's a 2 quarterback league, it's either Kaepernick with the combination of Kaepernick, Big Ben, and Cousins.
Yeah, I would probably play him over Roethlisberger.
Okay, that's what I'm leaning towards right now.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins has performed really well in the limited time he's had to play. I've seen people say that the Dalton Coast offense that Jay Gruden's installed is sort of, it's more suited toward the pocket passer. I do think RG3 is a better pocket passer than he gets credit for.
I agree.
But, look, he's the starting quarterback of a professional football team, and he should have the opportunity to perform, and he's going up against defense that hasn't really slowed many people down. He's going to get on the field. So, I feel as confident as I would in any other streaming quarterback. I'd especially feel better than I do for Ben Roethlisberger against Carolina, who's a really good defense.
Yeah, I agree.
So you sort of have to look at the matchups. I don't think any of those 3 guys are must starts every week. You don't have Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers there, who you wouldn't bench no matter what, no matter the matchup. So you kind of have to sort of look at the matchups and see what you think. Yeah. See what
no, I'm definitely leaning towards Cousins, especially with them saying with the way he's been playing with this brand new offense. I'm going to give it a shot this week, especially with Ben playing the Panthers, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you're talking a little bit about defenses.
Mm.
Are you more of a pick up a different defense based on matchup every week, or if you got a Seahawk defense, just stick with them all year?
Yeah, so I never wind up with like the Seahawks or the 49ers defense because I always wait till the last round or second to last round to take one. I've sort of gotten a little bit lucky this year in picking up defenses. So, the one defense that I targeted was the Texans. They had 24 points in week 1 and 9 points in week 2. And they play the Giants, who haven't looked very good on offense. So, I'll try and find a team that I maybe can roll with for a 2 or 3 week period. But if I feel like the matchup's bad, really, no matter how good the defense, I'm willing to drop it to find a better matchup. I just haven't necessarily found a matchup that I think is bad. Houston's still only owned in 63% of leagues, and they've got the Giants, Buffalo, Dallas. Then they have Indy, but then they got like Pittsburgh, Tennessee. Philadelphia is a tough matchup, but then after the bye, you're talking Cleveland, Cincinnati, Tennessee, Jacksonville. Their playoffs are Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Baltimore. So not necessarily like really super high-powered offenses that you're really scared of. And that's what I try and do. I just try to find a team that I can roll with for a few weeks and then move on when I have to. So the Cardinals are a team that I've looked at, performed really well last week. So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm actually really happy. Someone in Steve's league dropped the Panthers the other day. I was able to scoop them up this morning, so I was very happy with that pickup. I didn't see that one coming. So whoever dropped them, so I was like, all right, I'll take it. And apparently someone just dropped the 49ers defense just now in that.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a little bit nuts. So like if I were in a situation where I wound up with Seattle, obviously I would just play them. But I rarely ever do because nobody really drops them, So
I've actually noticed a lot of people dropping them, especially after what Cutler did to them at the end of the game.
Yeah, I think also people are a little bit scared of Seattle, I think people are a little bit scared of with Peyton Manning coming to town. But, people are dropping 49ers, I think, from time to time. I don't see it. I still think he's good. So I still think they're a good defense, but you got to play the matchups if you're in that situation, in my opinion.
And also, when it comes to Manning versus Seahawks defense, I think they played him pretty well the last time they played each other.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not that worried.
Honestly, you were mentioning Kirk Cousins before. That's the guy you pick up. That defense is just.
Yeah, if you're playing the streaming quarterback game, you definitely could do a lot worse than picking up Kirk Cousins this week, and he'll be a pretty popular pickup amongst people, like I said, who have Tony Romo or RG3. Certainly with people who own RG3, if you believe in that offense, if you believe, Deshaun Jackson's hurt, but, if you believe they can move the ball, he's a guy worth picking up, and he's definitely a guy worth considering this week for sure.
I definitely think Deshaun's definitely playing. He's going to find a way to play this week, especially playing in Philly. I expect his juices, adrenaline to be rushing a bit for him to play. I just have that feeling this week.
Yeah, I could see it. I'm sure he'll be motivated to get on the field. But sometimes it's not a finger injury. It's his shoulder. So we'll see. And like I said, if he gets on the field, then he's healthy, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
All right. So the rest of the way, what are you looking forward to?
Oh man, That's a great question. I love watching football. I look forward to every week. I mean, I really, to be honest, I had the Sunday ticket last year. And I'll tell you, my favorite team to watch in the league was the Detroit Lions. I just love watching Calvin Johnson play. I just think he's amazing, and he's just an amazing athlete. So he's a guy that whenever the Lions come on TV, I like to watch him play. I like to watch obviously the New York teams, just because local flavor, and that's one thing I'm excited for. I'm excited to see if Kelvin Benjamin is the real deal, and if Brandon Cooks can sort of keep it up. I love young wide receivers, and I like to see them succeed. I think that they make the most fun and exciting plays in football. So I just love watching the wide receivers, and so anytime a good wide receiver core is out there, I get excited. I'm pumped to watch it.
Absolutely. So what game this week are you pumped up for? Well,
as always, you're always pumped up for the Raiders. Yeah. So I like watching the Raiders because I'm a Raiders fan. But obviously the game of the week has got to be Denver Seattle. I kind of have this feeling that Peyton Manning gets a little bit of revenge here. I think Peyton Manning is obviously one of the smartest quarterbacks probably to ever play the game, and the Seahawks really smacked them around in the Super Bowl. And I just can't imagine Peyton Manning getting smacked around twice, and maybe he will. Maybe they'll just get dominated for a second time. But I'm excited to watch him go to work and see what he can do.
Alrighty, at the real K
Black 25. You got it.
Numberfires.com.
Numberfire.com. I just put out something on Bernard Pierce. Like I said, not the most efficient guy, but it might not matter for him. And we're putting out. I put out 2 articles last week. One about Larry Donnell and how much I like him, and one about Alan Hearns and how much I don't like him. And I was sort of indicated this week on both fronts, so I feel pretty good about that.
All right, before you leave, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Where does Ray Rice go when he gets the appeal lifted?
That's a good question. I don't think that he will suit up for. I don't think that he will play another meaningful football snap in his career. I think he will get signed to some practice squad. I think it will be a team like the Cowboys could be an option. A team like Oakland is kind of an option just because they don't have anybody else at running back, and they'll work him out to see what's going on. He will not be a Raven, that's for sure. I think he was kind of over the hill last year. He really didn't have a good year. So I don't expect that he will. He's going to lose another year now. I don't expect that he will play meaningful football, but he'll definitely suit up somewhere. And it's going to be a team that just really is desperate at running back and needs some help. Maybe a team that has an injury.
What about a team like New England?
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know. They do actually have a tendency to sign these kind of guys. So potentially there. But I don't think that I think he's done, and I think it's over. It's possible that New England will work him out, but I don't think he will make the team. Unfortunately, I don't want to see people lose their job, but he's kind of done it to himself.
Yeah.
All right, is Antonio Gates going to keep it up, or is he just going to be that 1 week he had a big week?
I think that the San Diego Chargers might be pretty good, and I think he will keep it up. People sort of like Darius Green coming into the season, and he was totally irrelevant the first 2 weeks. Gates is the guy. So I think as long as Rivers is playing and as long as the Chargers keep moving the football, I think Gates is going to be really, really relevant.
Alrighty. We're going to go play some more Division 1.1. Keith, thank you very much.
Thanks, Keith. Can't wait to talk about the Knicks soon.
Yeah, Knicks season soon.
All right, what's more exciting, Knicks or the Raiders this year?
Knicks.
Oh, the Knicks. For sure.
All right, Keith, talk to you soon, all right, bud?
Thanks, Keith.
All right, I'll talk to you. Bye.
SND Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Football League or any of its affiliates.
Welcome back to episode 83 of the SND Podcast show. We'll just call this one football.
Football! Thanks again to Keith coming on with us. FanDuel.
Number Fire.
FanDuel. Every other podcast is sponsored by FanDuel.
We are not sponsored, but if FanDuel wants to sponsor us, we're more than willing to listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hit us up, FanDuel. We're here.
Hit us up. Well, it's that time of week, Steve. Our weekly picks. I did god-awful last week. It just was one of those weeks. I got to get
I'm in
used
first place.
I got used to get. You could tell it's been a long night. You can get used to the spreads in this one particular league. So let's take it away, Steve.
Game 1, Thursday Night Football. Atlanta at home versus Tampa Bay. I'm going right away. Atlanta to cover. 6.5.
Yep, Atlanta.
They're at home in the Dome. Tampa's.
They couldn't beat Anderson or the Rams quarterback. So Matt Ryan's going to come back after a crappy week. So I'm taking the Falcons as well. Next.
All right. Next up, we have two of the more interesting teams.
Don't forget the spread as well, so I know.
Okay. Two of the more interesting teams as well in the league right now. San Diego going cross-country to Buffalo.
Okay.
2 for Buffalo.
2 points for Buffalo. All right. I'm going Chargers for the fact that the Chargers are theoretically the better. Can't knock how good the Bills have played. The defense was phenomenal last week. Our defense is still going to be good. I haven't won one of my fantasy leagues, so I hope they play well, but I'm taking the Chargers. I'm taking the Chargers on this.
All right. I'm going to take the Chargers, but I'm going to say Buffalo covers.
Okay.
I'm going to say Buffalo wins this game, but by like one of those last second, they're down 2 field goals.
Okay. Okay, I could see that too. But I think San Diego's going in 3-0.
Okay. Didn't they lose it? No, they won't win. Okay, next up.
Yeah, they beat the...
Okay, next up, we got Cincinnati hosting Tennessee. 7-point favorite for Cincinnati. The 50-50 chance of A.J. Green.
If A.J. Green plays, they're going to cover. If A.J. Green doesn't play, they don't cover. But regardless, the Bengals win.
I'm going to say they cover no matter what.
Okay.
I'm going to take them in the 7.
Okay.
I just trust Andy Dalton a lot more than Jake Locker.
I agree. No, they're definitely winning.
Especially in Cincinnati.
No, forget it. They're still winning. They're going to cover regardless. You're right. So I'm taking the Bengals as well.
And the Cowboys just smack them around. All right.
Well, the Cowboys finally smartened up and ran the ball.
They have a running game?
They always had a running game. Just Garrett just doesn't use it. Or just uses it at the wrong time. But
Or he pulls a hammy, DeMarco pulls a hammy or a collarbone. All right.
Might as well talk about that game because you just brought them up. Dallas, what's the...
Oh, I'm not going to Dallas yet. I have the more interesting game.
Okay.
The 1-1 Browns.
1-1 Browns versus the...
Baltimore Ravens. At home, the Browns. 1.5 dogs for the Browns.
Honestly, they were a drive away from being 2-0. The Browns have played good. I'm taking the road team. I'm taking the Ravens to win 2 in a row. They should be 3-0 right now at the moment. I'm taking that.
Cleveland should also be 2-0.
It would be 3 as well.
Oh, we'll be after this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Cleveland in this game.
Okay, I'm taking the Ravens.
I don't know. For some reason, Hoyer's growing on me.
I know.
Remember the whole, he only played 2 and a quarter games last year?
Yeah,
Why are they giving him the job?
Mm-hmm.
He's actually playing well, and this is without Josh Gordon.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I just like the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to find a way.
Alrighty. Next up, we have the NFC North battle. Detroit hosting Green Bay.
Green Bay is on one of those
2,
rolls.
by the way.
The points.
Detroit's favored by 2.
Oh, I'm taking the underdogs. I'm taking Green Bay. Unless Calvin just goes crazy, but I'm going to take Green Bay. I like Green Bay.
Quarterbacks are going to get hit in this game.
Oh, yeah. Both of them like always. But I'm taking Green Bay.
I'm going to go with Detroit in this game.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have the game you want to talk about. Dallas in St. Louis. 1 point favorite.
Just the
Talking about no love for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm taking Dallas. They should have no problem. They got the better quarterback, the better offense. Defense is in shambles, but they just got to really stop the run, and they'll be victors. Cowboys.
All right, I got the Cowboys covering that one too. Oh, look at this. Oakland gained the point.
Oh, boy, good for them.
It's only 14 now instead of 15.
Whatever. New England's going to roll them over. This is going to be the week like me and Keith were talking about. That New England scores 41 points at home, especially at home. So
Oakland traveling cross country. That's all you have to say.
This is actually the second game in 3 weeks that they came to the East Coast for a 1 o'clock game.
Yeah, didn't they make a new rule about that or something?
I don't know. I guess not. Is it a 1 o'clock game or a 4 o'clock game?
That's a 1 o'clock game.
Oh my God, that's rough. All right. Yeah, New England's covering unless Tom Brady goes out with Giselle all night the night before, which I highly doubt.
I feel like he can go out the whole night the night before and still cover this game.
Yeah, they'll just throw in Jimmy Garofalo. So there you go for that.
This is the game where it's safe to say New Orleans will win and finally get off the shine.
Yeah,
they're 0-2 right now, but they should be 1-2 after this week in their home opener versus Minnesota. And I'm going to take them to cover the 10.5 that it is now.
Yeah. I expect to see Jimmy. We're going to expect to see Teddy Bridgewater this week at some point during this game this week.
I don't know, because Ponder played well. If Ponder plays well, you won't see Bridgewater again. But it's just a matter of time.
You mean Castle?
Yeah, Castle, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time until you see Bridgewater.
Yeah, this week might be the week.
All right, 2.5 dogs to the Texans.
Giants? One more week. Homer picked the Giants. Next week, if they don't win this week, I'm not. Giants.
Well, we go to Washington next week.
Damn it. All right, after the Washington game, that's where I'm not going to pick the Giants anymore. One more week. Come on, Giants.
Technically, that's 2 weeks. You're good.
2 weeks. All right. Come on, Giants.
You're giving them the month of September. Yes. Which, by the way, we've lost 7 straight September games.
But in October, you realize money, so don't forget that. So.
It only took 2 weeks. What was it? 2 weeks, 3 weeks into October last year.
Yeah, it's not. We're not going 0-6. We're gonna win this week and end this madness talk. I'm gonna go. We're both gonna go home happy. Giants finally win at home and stop doing.
I want to go home happy.
And Victor Cruz catches a ball this week
in the end zone for the first time in 2 years.
I want to salsa dance. I haven't salsa danced in a while, so let's do this, Giants.
I'm actually going to take the Texans to cover this game.
Okay.
I just can't find it. I want the Giants to win, but
I'm just being an idiot. So congratulations on the win right there.
If Deshaun Jackson doesn't play in Philly, honestly, I don't see Washington. Actually, honestly, I could see Washington covering this game.
Yeah, no.
6.5.
I'm actually taking the Redskins in this game. I think Kirk Cousins, everybody's going to underestimate him. They still have Pierre Garçon. They have Alfred Morris pounding the rock, so I still like them. I'm going to go with the Redskins with the upset. They're my upset pick of the week.
All right. I'm going to take the Redskins to cover, but I think Philly ends up winning that game.
Yeah, Redskins are going to cover.
6.5, by the way, in Philly.
Redskins are going to cover and win.
All right. I already marked down for Indy to beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville and cover the 7.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
2 intriguing games at 4 o'clock. You know what? I'm going to give you the least intriguing of the 3 4 o'clock games.
All right.
Kansas City at Miami. 4.5 Miami.
KC covers. I like.
But wins?
What?
Wins?
Oh, yeah. I like them better. They're a little less banged up. I know Charles is banged up, but the Dolphins, both running backs are banged up. They had to re-pick up Daniel Thomas. That's never a good sign. So I like the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs with the win.
All right. Now, the less intriguing of the other 2.
Would you pick?
I'm going to take KC in that one. Okay. The less intriguing of the other 2 games. Arizona hosting San Francisco.
This is going to be an interesting one.
And San Francisco.
I think
3, by the way. San Francisco's favored by 3.
I think San Francisco is going to bounce back this week. They woke up a sleeping giant, no pun intended, with Cutler and the Marshall last week. This was one of those bad Kaepernick games. He's going to fix it, and they're going to win. Cardinals, they may have beaten the Giants. They played decently. They played good enough to win with Stanton. I think this week, obviously the 49ers are a much better team. I think the Niners are going to win.
Okay, I'm going to take the Niners as well in that game. You don't know what's going to happen with Palmer.
Yeah.
And I feel that the Niner defense is a lot scarier than our defense.
100%. And they're not going to give them the ball like we did and drop passes.
All right, so the rematch. 5 points for Seattle, in Seattle. Seattle versus Denver.
I'm going with the 12s, especially after losing against the Chargers last week. Broncos, even though they're not admitting it, but deep down inside, they're like, damn it, why the Chargers beat them? So that's going to get huge points for the Chargers. And I think the Seahawks are going to win it.
They should be getting Walker back.
They should be getting Walker back.
He got basically announced he could play again.
Yeah.
This week. So it'll be interesting to see. Even though they said he was going to miss the first 4 due to the concussion anyway.
Yeah.
So you got to see how he is based on that. But you're not going into it.
It's not going to be a Super Bowl ass-kicking like what we saw in February, but the Legion of Boom and the crowd noise and everything like that will help out the ever machine that is Peyton Manning. So Seahawks are going to win.
All right, the very unintriguing Sunday night game, in my personal opinion, Carolina hosting Pittsburgh.
This is
3.5 Carolina.
I'm taking the Steelers after how bad they played last week. They need a bounce back, especially at home.
Keith said it the best. Pittsburgh has not been playing well against the run.
No, they have
not.
not.
There really isn't much else the Panthers can do on offense.
Then run. So,
I'm going to take the Panthers to cover the 3.5.
Yeah, no, I'm going to take the Panthers to cover the 3.5, but the Steelers win by 3.
You're taking the Steelers to cover?
No, 3.5 is 4 points.
Oh, that's right. Good. All right. We originally thought this was a 1-point spread.
They changed
but it's now up to a 2.5. Jets are 2.5 favorites.
I'm definitely taking.
But that's because I think Jeffrey practiced.
Whatever. He didn't practice last week. I'm taking the Bears 2.5.
We stood in the parking lot changing him in every league that we had.
Yeah, thank God I got home in time for Marshall. My one league I had Marshall in. I was able to take care of that, so I got 3 touchdowns out of that. But with that all being said, I think the Bears, as long as Jay Cutler stays upright, their offensive line is much better than years past. I know the Jets' defense is one of the kind, but their secondary can be had. That's going to be a problem, especially with Marshall and Jeffrey. And the return of Santonio Holmes. Don't be surprised that he steps up and does something silly for them to beat the Jets, especially the way that relationship ended. So I'm going to take the Bears winning in Monday night against the Jets.
I'm taking the Bears.
Yeah.
The Bears.
All right, so we agree with that.
Bears.
Let's see what happens this week.
I need more wins. I need wins because then I can end up in first place by more points. I'm only up by 1 right now.
All right, hopefully I come back. Last week was very awful by my part. But with all that being said, thank you, Keith, for coming on. Thank you for
SND Sports Blog.
Yep. Plenty of new blogs coming up. I'm going to try a new video blog as well sometimes this weekend.
There will be Dan's video blog. We got an article from our new correspondent, Ryan Hafner, talking about how the power play is important in the NHL.
Okay.
My Eye on the Preview will be up. Should be up by the time you're listening to the show. And Vin's got a little nice article coming out about the young guns in Juan Lagares and Travis d'Arnaud.
All right.
So that should be up by the time you're listening to the show.
All right, awesome. Thanks again, Keith, for coming on. Division 1.1 for our music this week. Be sure to check them out and all that fun stuff on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that other fun jazz. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your football, and go for whoever you root for. Go Giants.
Whoever you root for, we hope they win. And
unless they're playing the Giants.
And don't forget the public service announcement. Don't take our picks to Vegas.
Yeah. Have a good one.